Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Author Showcase Summer Edition. This is part two of what we started last month. I am just so excited. We had such a good time last time that we decided to do it again. So, we have another set of incredible authors. These women who are joining us today have done some incredible work. And so, for those of you who may not see this live, but you're watching the replay, we're going to broadcast this to my Book Coach Accelerator page as well as to YouTube in the next 48 hours. So you'll get to see it there again. And so, for those that don't know me, I am Valerie McDowell. I'm a writer, editor, author, book coach, consultant, and publisher. And in the last 30 months, guys, I have been able to help 30 individuals go from idea to publish, some in as little as 3 months. And so I wanted to share with you some of these incredible people I've had the privilege of getting to know and work with so that you can see what does it take to become a published author. And so we're going to be bringing up each of these women and you're going to get to meet them. And then I'm going to let them take over and share with you their journey and what they're up to now. So, first up, we're bringing in, as I go through my screen, Miss Melody Kashumba. And next, we're bringing up Verlene Bailey. Come on in. We're bringing up Glenda Waters. Next, we have Miss Stephanie Baker Jones. Y'all see, we got a lot of people coming. I'm not done yet. And we have Tracy Hare coming on in here. And we have, where is she? Sissy Jones. And then we have just our little short girl here in the house, Miss. And please check your sound so that we don't have extra noises in the background, ladies. So, but then we're going to bring in Miss Jenny Davis as our support girl for the evening. So come on in, Jenny. And so, welcome to all of these amazing people we have here tonight. And so, thank you all for joining. And I just want to share that all of you are, we're excited to have you here. And I can't wait to get this conversation started. So, from the top, I'm going to let Miss Melody Kashumba take it over. You're going to say who you are, where you're from, and then tell us all about your journey in publishing. Let's get started.
Thank you, Valerie. So excited to be here. I am, simply put, I am a girl, just a young girl raised in Zimbabwe, Africa, who just had a story to tell. For those who know me, I grew up it was a third world country. My environment may not have been telling me greatness was coming, but I just believed in my heart that there was more for me to do. Even though we grew up with a lot of hardship, I was always under the impression, because my father always kind of taught us that you could be anything if you put your mind to it and ground it in faith and with God as the anchor. So I grew up with this unwavering belief that I could be anything. And that's my journey coming to America and starting off with $70 and a dream, and just watching God move supernaturally. And now, 20 years later, almost 20 years later, I am an accomplished author, thanks to you. Part of what my story is, it actually detailed my pain. And when I started writing the book, I did not realize that. I just thought I was just going to be writing a book, publishing a book um, through Valerie. But as I started to write the book, I began to see patterns of pain. That's why the book is called Pain That Accelerated to a Life of Purpose. But I actually realized that as we were writing the book, it was kind of like a rebirthing process, because I got to stand in those spaces that were painful the most. But I also, especially through your help as we're writing the book, I got to extract the things that made me stronger. And so by the time we were done writing the book, it was actually realizing that my pain made me who I am today. I am so excited to say that part of my mandate now, and it was birthed by writing the book, is that I was born for this generation to help those that are in pain, to help those that have any sort of affliction. And more importantly, I have a burden for poverty because I come from a third world country. And so the book started everything, but today I'm leading in life, in ministry, and in business with a mandate to help people use pain as an accelerator to a life of purpose.
And I'm just going to stop you right there because wasn't that an amount of just greatness right there, ladies? I mean, all the way from Zimbabwe, Africa. I remember when I first met you, Melody, I was like, how did you get to Florida, to Clearwater in particular? Like, of all the places that you could get, but yet that became the place where you started your American journey. And so I need you to show your book because we're here to promote. So for all those who don't know, what it takes, some of what it takes is having a great cover. And let's see that book cover, madam.
That's nice.
Her book is entitled Pain, the Accelerator to a Life of Purpose. And so in her journey, she details because she went through a lot acclimating herself to this country, even and just getting started, that with some of the things we may take for granted. So, Melody, I'm going to let you continue. So keep going. Tell us. So, since publishing your book, like what have you been doing, or how has it helped you, move forward?
So, since publishing my book, it was actually the springboard for really giving a message to my organization, which is Graceful Acceleration, an organization that is meant to uplift, especially women, teens included. So, I have been involved in a few initiatives in terms of getting most people take sanitary pads for granted, but in for those less fortunate, that is a big deal. So that is kind of what part of my mission is. I motivate and mentor women to kind of see the greatness in them, to stand on their pain and lead with their highest strength. Because what most people don't realize is whatever pains you the most becomes the pulpit, right? It becomes your ministry. And whatever pains you the most, only you develop that strength to overcome it. So most people that have been through pain have a lot of perseverance. They're very strong. But sometimes it takes a while for you to actually realize that you are stronger than you are. So part of what my mandate is and what I'm helping women with Graceful Acceleration is to use their strengths that are a result of their pain for purpose, for impact, and to influence the environment around them, thereby making them stronger and pillars in their community.
Exactly. That is so good. And you're just out here doing it. I mean, and I know the ladies are just like, wow. It's like, I'm just always blessed that we can find and work with and bring on such incredible women, that, never like so much is happening because of women. So shout out, ladies, to yourselves, for all that you're
Absolutely.
doing, all that you are able to accomplish in spite of great odds against you in many cases, or despite certain limitations that we may have had growing up or going through our different situations. So Melody, I want to thank you for sharing that. Again, her book is called Pain, the Accelerator to a Life of Purpose. And we're going to be putting links to all of your sites. When we rebroadcast this in the replay, we'll put it in tonight. So any links that you have that you want people to know about you, just send it in and we will post it with the video once we upload it a little later. So we want to make sure that we have everyone's link. So let's shout out to Melody for being our first lady up tonight.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you, my dear. And so next up is going to be Verlene Bailey. So coming to the stage, madam, what you got to say?
Well, good evening. Good evening to everyone. Well, my name is Verlene Bailey. Uh, I am originally from North Carolina, and then when I graduated, I came up to the city, Washington, D.C. And my story is Valor and I go to the same church, and she has been a blessing to me. Through my book. I've been through a lot, but God is able to bring us through anything. And my book is Spiritual Warfare: How I Overcame Fear, Oppression, Anxiety, and much more.
Hold
And
that book up so we can see
oh,
it.
okay. You see? Oh,
Yes.
everybody see good?
And we'll
Okay.
post the link for it as well. And let me just say this also, that Minister Verlene was my first client, my first paying client. It put me in business. So shout out to Minister Verlene. She saw a book I had done and asked, "Hey, you did a book. Can you help me write mine?" And so that's how it starts. Once we put our foot outside that boat and start walking, the miracles start happening. So thank you, Minister Verlene, for being my first client
Thank
and,
you.
and helping in this book writing journey.
Yes, thank you. Um, but I just want to share just for a few minutes that what really made me write this book was at the age of 6 years old, I went through spiritual warfare because the enemy don't care about no age. And when I went through spiritual warfare, I at the age of 6, I was going to the psychiatrist 3 days a week, and the doctor trying to find out what was going on with me. I mean, he tried everything but couldn't find nothing. And so, to make it short, my mother behind us was a pastor and his wife. So my mother said, "Really, I'm gonna take you to Mr. Frank and have him to lay hands on you and pray for you." And so he did. He laid hands on me and prayed for me, and I was back to myself. And go. I can go to school the next day. That's what Mr. Frank had did. Then after that, the enemy. See, I'm so glad to have Valerie because this book is much needed, especially when it comes to all ages, especially young people, because the enemy he come to kill, steal, destroy. But see, the Bible said we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities and power and rule of darkness. And so, as I continue in this, going to the psychiatrist, so and after he prayed for me, he said, "It's nothing." Mr. Frank said, "This isn't a spiritual attack." That's why the doctor couldn't find, he couldn't find it, and it was exposed to Mr. Frank. And from then on, I started talking to Valerie, and about I said, "Well, I got to get my book written," and she helped me, and we got through this book, and it's in Germany now, Heidelberg, Germany. It's in German and English, and it's gone to Georgia, North Carolina, and I just really thank God because this book can save young anybody life. You can save anybody life, and I just thank you. I just thank God for this.
Wonderful. And one thing I just want to add, Minister Verlene, is that in her book, she shares how do you overcome spiritual warfare? Because having experienced that as a child, and and something that we're kind of talking about more openly now was not talked about that way back then, when that was mental illness. And not only did she use prayer in scriptures, but she used therapy, and so it's much more widely accepted now. But when you cannot see what you're battling, you could think, or other people could think that, you might not be right. So we are grateful that the word of God, which you, if I remember correctly, you pasted it all over your house, and
Oh
your
yes,
baby boy at the time
yes,
was holding
yes,
it right along with you, because you
yes,
knew that it was the word of God that was going to help set you free.
yes, yes, yes. I did.
So what are you up to now since publishing? What's happening?
Oh well, what's happening now that God has He sent a lot of people my way, and I'm so glad to help people who've been going through the same thing I was going through, and their kids been going through. And I speak out a lot, and mostly by word of mouth. People will call me, because mostly fear. See, I walked in fear for 5 years, and so our fear was the number one. But all things are possible with God. Everything was, but you got to stick with it. You got to you got to put it in you. You got to fight. It's a fight, but we win if you continue to fight. So, um,
Indeed, indeed. So we're grateful for you, Minister Verlene. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. We appreciate you. We love you.
Thank
And
you.
let's see, who do we have up next? She's your screen mate, at least from my point of view. It's Glenda Waters. Miss Glenda, come on in here and share your life. Where you at? What you doing?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're
Good
ready. Let's go.
evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with my two church sisters, Val and Verlene. And it's also a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with the other author sisters of mine. So it's truly a pleasure. My name is Glenda Waters, and I'm a newly published author as of last month.
Yeah.
I'm so
Number
excited.
30 of 30.
And I'm number 30 in the row.
Yes.
And I'm still trying to pitch myself to wake up every time I hear that I'm a newly published author. It's awesome. I am a native Washingtonian from Southeast Washington. And I do have a country drawl. You will hear it. And I'm proud of being a native Washingtonian. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. And I'm active in church membership. I am a retired social worker. From my last place of employment was DC Public Schools. And so most of my career has been spent working with children. And that's a little bit about me. My journey with the book writing. I would just use a few adjectives to describe it, and I will fill in for you briefly how I experienced those. The first thing was jaw dropping. And that's unusual for me because usually I have something to say. But through different phases of this process, my jaw dropped. It was an unplanned experience for me. Writing was a distant dream. It was something that was on my bucket list. I wanted to do it. No way had I planned to do it when I did it, to write on the topic I wrote on, and to write at the time I wrote. So that's what made it unplanned. It was painful. So I refer to my sister Melody. I mean, just to move in and out of the different roles that I had to do to get the project done. Well, being an author, a writer was a new experience for me. But having a little girl, Glenda, moving in and out of that was painful. My book, I'm hesitant to tell you what the secret was, but I'm going to tell you because I feel like we are all sisters. So let me tell you.
And to the world out there.
Yeah, what was the experience that I had? I innocently discovered, and I was 66 then, I'm now 67, that the father that raised me was not my biological father. Mm-hmm. And that struck me down. So that's why the title of my book is Struck Down But Not Destroyed.
Right.
Living in the Freedom of God's Promises, a memoir. And I would just say to you all that everything I thought about myself really, or everything I knew Glenda to be, really was incorporated in this book. So I believe that God orchestrated the book and used Valerie to help me bring it out.
Mhm.
And for a good period of time, Valerie would say, Deacon Glenda, I'm a deacon at the church. I need you to write your story. Don't be afraid to write your story. I was in la la land because that news felt, and I highlight that in quote, felt devastating. I felt like Muhammad Ali had socked me and I couldn't catch my breath. But Val kept in her calm, supportive way. I need you to do this. She kept pulling things out of me. And she probably got a holy whipping from me many other times. I'm sorry, Val, but thank you for helping me. God had me focus on partnership with Val. And we partnered to complete this project. And he kept me in line. Now, what I might thought was a partner wasn't necessarily a partner. So he taught me. Another word I would use was insightful. I learned so many things from this experience, even though it was hurtful to relive some of that. And I would say the last adjective I would use would be fulfilling. Once I got to that place where Val said, it's done, it's done. I was like, huh? Jaw dropping again. It was and is, even though I go through different emotions, it is wonderful. It was important to me to get the message out to whoever could connect with the book. And I pray that people, whether you whatever you believe or whatever you see your life as, if you could connect with any part of my experience or what I felt, I was so happy. I'm just excited about that. And it's encouraging to hear the work of you ladies because it just motivates me. And I said, I did it once, I can do it again. So I'm excited. I have a little bit of poetry in there, which I had to fight Val about, but it's in there, which is a creative flow that really energized me. So I thank God because I wanted God highlighted because he has brought me through many things. And here we are again. So I'm grateful and thankful. Thank you, Val.
You're welcome. So let me just jump in here. So thank you, Glenda. So we've just kind of introduced you to three of our authors here. Hasn't this been amazing already? And I just want to say, like to all those who are listening out there, that part of our story is going to cause us to have to backtrack into some places we may not want to go. And oftentimes we have kind of hidden or covered that part of our life up in layers. We've moved on, we're looking good, we're fabulous now. But when we have to deal with some of those things from our past, it's just like, whoa, or the past you didn't know about. And it hits you like a Muhammad Ali knocking you out. And so part of what I love doing is pulling those stories out. But I absolutely know it is an honor when you guys let me in to your lives because, and I don't take that lightly. And so when we're putting out this product, I'm very, conscious that also that it is of value to those who are going to read it. That is a blessing. It's a benefit. It's inspirational, motivational, or it causes them to make a change. And so I think that when you all go through that process, you see that it's much bigger than you just slapping a pretty picture on a cover and putting a few words in. That we're changing lives with the work that we do here. And so I'm honored that I get to work with all of you ladies. And so thank you, Glenda, Minister Verlene, and Melody. We're going to go next to Stephanie Baker Jones. So again, say, where are you? What you doing? And what's been going on?
Hey, everybody. So I'm Stephanie K. Baker Jones. I'm actually up here in Beaverton, Oregon. And so I was born and raised in Portland. And so I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm retired Army nurse. And I'm just somebody who my mission has always been to always contribute positively to the lives of everybody I interact with. And that doesn't mean I'm always happy with the interaction, right? Because we know that when we interact with people, it could go either any kind of way. But regardless of what's happening, my commitment is that I leave them empowered, even if I'm telling myself not to cuss them out, right? So, because again, who I am is what's important, and who I'm being is what's going to be left with them. So even though they might say, well, she cussed me out, but I sure didn't mind. That's who I like to be. Now, so I initially wanted to write a book because I really always kind of felt myself to be an author. I've got books of poetry. I've got other things that I've self-published, but I had never actually used a coach. And that was the thing that, of course, I needed because, I do, and Coach Valerie will tell you, I had my thoughts were like all over the place, And she was able to focus me to say, well, first of all, what are you trying to say? And who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? And like some of you have, the three of you have already mentioned, I was talking to me. And so I had to really think about what it was that I needed to say to me in order for it to come out. And it was a challenge. And again, God is absolute and got a strange sense of humor and just throws stuff at you. So my book finished when my dad was in the hospital, all right, in 2020. So when my dad was in the hospital and there was some stuff that was happening while he was in his hospital bed, which ended up being his deathbed. He did pass a few weeks later, which was actually the week before the country shut down with COVID, right? So we got to be with him, but right after that, everything shut down. But so I lost my dad. My book was out, and I was able to take my book, Journey to Self, How to Get Back to You, to remind myself through those dark times when people were telling me I wasn't nothing, or that how my dad reacted to me while he was on his deathbed. They tried to make it about me. I was able to read my book that Valerie helped me to really pare down, like laser focused on, to remind myself that, no, girl, you okay. You all right. You got this, just like God said you did. So if I carried it around like that's what I had to do. It'll happen when it happens. I'm okay, right? So that's
and let me just jump in here for a second, Stephanie, yes. and really just to kind of add to what you're saying, because you actually were writing a different book and we had to totally realign that with those questions that you said I asked you, like, wait, who is this book for? What are you talking about? And when we did that, then it really flowed. Right. Because we had multiple things going on based on your experience in your career, but that wasn't really the story. And I think even that the title, Journey to Self, How to Get Back to You, so many times we are all over the place. We're doing this and that, but it's not helping us be in alignment with who we really are. And so I think, and as you said, as you carried this book with you, you could reflect and see, where are you in this book? It wasn't just for your audience, it was for you. And, any good book is going to first affect you and minister to you and help you. And so when you, as I've shared in the prior author showcase, if you're crying writing it, we're going to cry reading it. If you're laughing, if it's joyful, whatever the emotion, and you put it in honestly, then your reader is going to experience that same thing too. And I think that you were able to do that really well in that book. And by putting you even on the cover, that said, hey, I'm doing this. I'm putting myself out here.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what are you doing now? What's next for you?
So since I have so many things that I do want to talk about eventually, I'm working with a company. We're going to do a podcast. And so the podcast is going to be called KB's World. So Kay Baker. So my middle name is Kay, and my name before I got married, because I'm hyphenated, you notice. So the real authentic me is basically Kay Baker. That's the person that's really me. And so with KB's World, I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And so my first thing, one of my books, and this is my self-published book, but it's a Black history book. And it's about it's 16 visual artists, and and of course what we had to go through to even be creative and be our artists. But I'm just going to talk about that. That's the first topic, and then I'll get to talk about other things. So I get to be creative while I try to think about the next thing I need to work on with Miss Valerie, which of course is probably not going to be exactly what it starts out to be.
So, but one thing I'm hearing is that everyone's writing more books. This is amazing. Yes. I love it. It's like we're going to get to 1,000 eventually. That's the ultimate goal. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing. Thank you for joining us from Oregon. We appreciate you representing the left coast there, as I say. And so thank you again. And again, make sure we have your link so we can post that information along we'll post the information about your book.
Okay.
So up next, all the way from, I'm gonna let you tell it, Tracy Hare.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Good evening, my queens. What a pleasure to be here and hear of everybody's experience with Coach Valerie and some of the things that you guys are saying. Yes, she pulled it out of you. She's trying to figure out, what are you really trying to say? My name is Tracy Hare. I've been a cosmetologist more years probably than I am old, but at least 40 plus years. So that's been a long time of my life that I've been in the hair industry, the beauty industry, educator, mentor, have spent a lot of time with a lot of women in 40 plus years, whether it was behind the chair, in front of the chair, in a classroom, on a platform. I have 2 grown daughters. I have 3 grandchildren that I've been very close in their lives. And I've always wanted to tell a story. I didn't exactly know how I wanted to tell the story, but it was always something about being a hairstylist. And during COVID, again, like how you be in these different zones. During COVID, I started searching my history. Trying to figure out who I am, and my ancestors before me and what they've done, which most Black folks' ancestors have done service work, but the type of service work that my ancestors had done, and the pride that they had in what they did. And it made me start looking at what I have been doing for 40 years and seeing the experience of what I started seeing in these years where we're at now. From when I started as being a hairstylist, how we had to be dressed, nails done, hair done, to now some hairstylists come to work look like they just got out of bed. I'm just being serious, being an educator and a mentor, taking on all of these different things that other women have experienced, whether they were behind the chair, a student. So in this journey of 40 plus years, I have had to wear many hats. I was a young mother when I started this. My parents was like, okay, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to the military, what you going to do? I had been doing hair since I was a little kid. So I went to cosmetologist for my book, which is At Your Service from Behind the Chair. of a hairstylist. Am I getting it?
Mhm.
Yes, a little over.
I
But
kind of go
say
over
the
my
title
journey
again.
from. Did you see that? I don't know if I'm okay. Here we go.
Yeah. At your service, a view from behind the chair of a
Gosh, where am I?
hairstylist.
Yeah, there we go. I
Right.
kind of go from the beginning of um, when we were doing hair, because this is up there with the number one profession in the oldest profession, doing hair. It goes back that far,
Mhm.
And when I started, my mom was like, "Oh, don't say that in the book. You make it sound like you're out there doing something." Well, you are when you're out here as a hairstylist or in the beauty industry. You should. You're selling a service. So it's a way to sell a service, and what I've seen over the years. So it's kind of like giving life lessons to those that are in the industry, although it could relate to anything. It could relate to people in restaurants or in hospitality or, working in an office. Just things as far as dressing, how we carry ourselves, how we talk to people. So I give a life lesson and I also give a scripture with each chapter. It's a short book, 95 pages. I can't hardly see, so the print is not small. But I just go through where I started on this journey and what I've learned along the way. And in writing this book, being all over the place, trying to figure out, okay, am I talking about my family history or am I talking about the beauty industry and what I've done? I found me.
Yes.
And it was kind of like a healing of what I have done all of these years and how many lives I've touched, how many heads I've touched, which goes back all the way to the beginning of, a hairstylist is where you tell all your secrets,
Mhm.
and
Right.
what the hair does. And if you really are into hair, which was which is really what I was into, is taking care of hair, but also listening all these years to, I'm sure, over 1,000 women and what they've gone through. Men too, not only women, because men like to be in the chair too. But what I started seeing in hairstylists, and how it has changed, how that pride of what we do, the love that we should share, how we should make somebody feel when they're leaving out that chair. You want to get paid, but you don't want to put in the time. You got to put in the time if you want to get paid. And it's more than just doing that hair if you want to maintain that client. So it's just my journey. I've just retired. I work for JC Penney's as a salon manager. I've taught in many schools, platform artists. So my book, I came out, my mom died in October. I think February is when I published it, or we came out.
For your birthday.
I've done 4 book signings. I've done 3
Nice.
TV interviews.
Mhm.
Um, it's I'm still trying to figure it out. And I pinch myself that this is really happening. So now I want to take this and try to get back into the schools. Work with people who are. I mean, because when I started writing, I would tell people something about the book, and then they would be like, "Hey, you know what? When I went to my salon, I started noticing things, that I was bringing out in the book. So it's just a full healing journey, and I just want to share that with others. Like you say, mentor women, which is something that I've been doing for many years, and I, continue to do that and show love. So I just want to use this as a platform, and it seems to be kind of jumping off in this area. So when I just get myself a little bit more, I'm just retiring, so I'm still trying to dig my heels into that. I am retired, and that'll be what I do next. Is just kind of promote it a little bit more.
And I just wanted to jump in and say, one, congratulations on retirement. I know you were talking about that while we were working on the book. You were on your way. But also, as with many things, part of our story is what we've been doing since we were children. And you were doing all the neighborhood kids' hair. you know, you were doing elderly women. You know, you said they were your special clients, but I think I remember you were corn rolling Sinbad's hair back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of my customers. Yeah.
So he was a customer back in the day.
He
So
didn't pay.
he was a practice client.
Yeah.
He was practicing on some heads, but it's like everybody starts somewhere, you know, everyone starts somewhere. So he lived in her neighborhood. So
Yeah, his
that's
father
how.
was the minister of our church. By the way, my mother is a Washingtonian. Jeter is the name. Yeah.
So for you DC ladies, if you know any Jeters, holla. But yes, but I just want to thank you because I learned a lot. I have a couple family members who are hairstylists and own beauty salons, but even just reading your story and helping you write it, you know, opened my eyes to different things. You talk about hair shows, you talk about, you know, and I remember even going, you know, me and my two sisters with my mom getting our hair pressed and curled, you know, every 2 weeks, you know. And so those routines and those things, and even as you said, that a lot of our secrets as women come out either from our mouth or through our hair, you know. And the hairstylists, they know what's going on. If they see something going, they're like, what's happening? What are you upset about? What are you anxious about? And you know, when you have those God-given talents, you know, to minister even with your hands, you know, that it's a blessing to be in your chair. So I want to salute you, my dear, because you have been at our service for 40 plus years. I'm sure that all of your clients and your students, because you know, not only did you do the work, but you taught people how to be professional in this profession. And so we celebrate and honor you for all that you've done in that area.
Valerie, I want to thank you because I tell you, I know I probably wasn't the easiest person to work with, but you were so patient. You were persistent. You didn't hear from me, you were contacting me, just keeping me right on point till I finished this project. And then when I finished, I mean, you were giving me all this praise that I didn't even think that, okay, is this real? Is this really happening? So thank you, my sister, for being so patient and persistent with me that I did do this and that it was something that I wanted to complete.
You are very welcome, and I'm honored to have been able to work with you. So we'll look for that next book. All right. And so our last official author, even though we have a backup one that just popped up in here, but Miss Cissy Jones, who she's got so many things to talk about with this book of hers. So we got some feedback on someone, so we might
Maybe.
your
Was
mic.
is it me?
Try again.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
All right. Is it feedback?
There's a little feedback.
Let's see. Let's turn this volume down. Does that help any?
Yes.
Great.
So Miss Cissy
All
Jones,
right.
where are you? What you doing? Tell us about your journey.
So yes, hi. My name is Cissy Jones. I
Actually, give
am
your full name. Give your government.
my government name is Cicerice Jones, preferably Sissy, because everyone tends to train wreck my name. So we decided to go with Cissy Jones for the author book reasons. But I'm in Pearland, Texas, near Houston, Texas. But born and raised in good old Lake Charles, Louisiana, affectionately known as the Boot. And so good old Southern girl. And you know, just to tell a little bit about myself, published author, as many of you all are, business owner as well. And I'm also working in private industry, looking for my exit plan, working hard in regards to my exit plan, but working in private industry as a senior leader in the beauty industry. And I am the daughter of a single parent, single mother. At the age of 16, gave birth to me. I am the eldest of 11 children and was reared by loving grandparents and lived with 5 aunts and uncles who basically I considered as my brothers and sisters. And so that's pretty much how this journey and my book called Finding My Way Back to Me pretty much took off. To be quite honest, like most of you, when I began this journey of writing, well, first, I've always wanted to write. I mean, even at 8 years old, as a kid, you get published in all these anthologies at school. And, I have a couple of English professors who are saying, you really should write. You're funny. You're very funny. And so I didn't find myself funny. And anyone who knows me know that I have this dry sense of humor. I'm not a sharer at all. I'm really a person who, to know me is to love me, and you really have to get to know me to do that. Because I am not one to just kind of openly say, hey, come into my world, get to know me, sort of. So this book was a challenge for me just from that perspective alone, having to share much of my personal business and life. So that was a struggle in itself for me. But I originally, during COVID, kind of had to sit in myself a little bit and try to understand, hey, what's going on with you, and why is it, the main reason I wanted to write the book was because I had an affinity to tell everyone else yes, but always tell myself no. So the objective was for me to try to figure out why would that happen most often. But when I met with Val and I started talking about my past history and my past life, Val was like, oh, no, that's not the story, sister. We're going to pivot this way, and you're going to fully uncover why is there some of these things that these triggers that you have and these tolerances that you have relative to not letting people in. Why do you shut down? Why do you, what's that all about? And so when I kind of gave a lot of the events of my life that had a lot of trauma involved, a lot of pain involved, from once again being born to an unwed 16-year-old, looking for motherhood from her, which she was just a child herself. So really had to figure out how to come to terms with that, fully understanding a grandmother who loved you dearly but didn't know how to express it. Her love was through silence. It was through direction. It wasn't through affection. So just trying to understand that and kind of, I guess relate that to why I respond to people a certain way and how I love hard, but I don't openly express it. That was a taught behavior. So this journey in writing this book and just kind of disclosing, and I guess too, the most important thing, which I just caught myself again, Val, I tried to avoid that again, but I am a child or a product of childhood molestation as well. So Val made me dig really deep to uncover and disclose, a lot of these things throughout this book. And, the night before, when I knew I had to speak with Val and I've written a chapter or something to that effect, and I may have cried the whole night through. And then Val would just tell me the next morning, there's still something missing. There's still something you need to say. I just don't think you've fully gone there, even though I've gone pretty far. She still was able to pull even some of the other, most, from my perspective, damning things that has happened in my life that I was able to express and just come to terms with forgiveness, come to terms with, allowing grace for others. And, she said something that rang true to me even here today. She indicated sometimes you have to meet people where they are. So I've learned to do that. And, that has been something that I've stood on from the time we've had that conversation to help me just work through even just current relationships and current challenges that I may have in my life today, to understand, okay, where is that person right now? Try to go there, try to understand, and then, formulate whatever relationship can be established once you've done that. But my book it was just a journey through my childhood, a lot of dysfunctional relationships that I've allowed to come into my life, getting married at the age of 21, just clueless, searching, just all of those things, and able to connect those dots and fully understand why my path really was what it was. And I was able to find my way back to me. I was able to go back to that little girl named Sissy at the age of 9, who was sitting in that mud hole in her grandmother's backyard, getting in trouble because she was eating all the figs off the tree in the backyard and licking, and all those other things that her grandmother told her not to do. But I was able to get back to her and fully understand, that sweet spot of when she was that innocent little girl, when she was that happy little girl, and find that particular place and just kind of start over and just remember what that joy felt like, and just use that to leverage how I would move forward in my relationship with my daughter, in relationship with my sons, and just to make sure that that cycle did not continue throughout my family. Another thing that was introduced in my book was I do have that, like I said, that dry sense of humor. My favorite go-to line was, well, anywho, that's just pretty much when I was done saying something and I've come to terms with it and I've accepted it, that was my tagline to end it. It was just pretty much, well, anywho. And I moved on and I pivot to the next comment. The book also includes a music list.
Let me just jump in here for a second, my dear, because you've said a lot, and I celebrate and honor you for really sharing your life and all the trauma, because it was quite a bit, even how you were able to explain it. But as you said, your humor is off the rails. Okay. I'll let you get more to it, but when she talks about bad relationships and things that she's been in, she's created this whole genre of things. The cover of her book is a woman walking through dumpsters of trash. Okay. So she has created a whole anthology, a whole language, because you are, what is it, literologist?
I'm a literologist, yes.
She's been getting rid of all the trash and junk and debris and litter of bad relationships or decision making and all the things. And she also has a when you join her program, you get a certificate in the Dumpster League. So she's got her Dumpster League shirt on there. So again, I'm gonna let you say some more, but just all the things, I didn't want to forget that. And as you talk about this playlist, I literally kept going to YouTube to hear what song she's referring to. So I had all of this music in my head. I'm like, girly, let's put a playlist in this book, because everybody's going to want to know, what are all these songs? Because I think we had over 30 songs.
We had over 30 songs, and the way I included those songs were certain lyrics that was appropriate for the statement that I was trying to say. I wove those into the book so that, people can really make a connection, because music, like I said, was my babysitter. And it went from the Temptations, Barry White, to, some of the most recent hits today, to rap, so I pretty much brought Val into so many different genres and worlds of music. She was just like, okay, wait a minute. And she's again quoting some of the lyrics, which was hilarious to me during our conversations. But, music and writing is my love. And like I said, they were there for me when no one else was. And so they were definitely the go-to modes in order for me to get my message across. But yes, do have the Dumpster League. Currently right now, book is still on Amazon, doing well. Actually, I checked, I had a couple of sales yesterday and today. So that was a win in my eyes. It's on Apple Books, it's on Google Books. I do have my books on shelves in a bookstore in Dallas, Texas. I am waiting on approval for bookshelves for a local bookstore here called Kindred Books in Houston, Texas. And I will be participating in October at the Black National Book Fair that will be here in Houston, Texas, as well, as a featured author there. So I'm definitely excited. And then a girlfriend of mine, believe it or not, we're about to start a podcast as well. It's called Gumbo and Cocktails. So naturally, I'm Gumbo. And she's from Sacramento, California, and her name is Cocktails. That's her word. Let's have cocktails. So why not call it Gumbo and Cocktails? It's just a matter of women sitting down, discussing about relationships, how to work through things, and just, two girlfriends having a good time, having dinner and cocktails and talking about life. So those are all the things that I'm doing. I'm definitely excited about it. Still in love with my book. I am looking forward to writing another book. I mean, this one was called Finding My Way Back to Me. And I told Val the other day, I guess the next one should be called Now What? So we shall see.
And as you can see, it doesn't end. And it's like, and I just love so many different ways that you're able to, and all of you are able to use your books to, it's going in other countries. It's, it's in bookstores, it's in, fairs, you're signing, you're speaking, you're creating podcasts. I mean, just so many different ways that you can monetize your book and even build a business around your book. And I also want to shout out to B Sweets, one of our authors, and Rocio Baker. They were chiming in earlier, so I just want to call you out. They both came through my online course and doing phenomenal work. And so we're gonna, waiting on Rocio to finish, but B Sweets, she wasn't quite ready. She's gonna be up next. So I just wanted to shout you ladies out to make sure I called you out. But and now I want to just bring in Jenny. I'm gonna let you wrap some things up, my dear. She was in our last author showcase. This woman needs to be a full-time writer because she writes like thousands and thousands of pages just like when she wakes up. So I'm gonna talk for a second.
So, ladies, it's amazing to meet you all. I gotta say I'm in complete awe of you. And part of the reason I wanted to be here tonight is it just feels good to sit in the presence of other amazing, wonderful, beautiful writers, and all of you are that. So I mean, I have so much pride in me for all of you right now, and I'm so happy for you all. And I wish you the best of luck and success, and I know you're going to be great. I'm Jenny Davis. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee about 15 years ago, and I too always wanted to write. I knew at 11 I wanted to write, but life took over, and that fear that I had, that I gained as I grew older. When you're a kid, you're never afraid of anything. You just do it. And I'm a person that moved from Detroit to Atlanta by herself, then moved from Atlanta back to Detroit, then moved from Detroit back to Atlanta, then moved to Atlanta to Nashville by herself every time. And then somewhere in there, this fear gained in me. But when I'd written a book about a young man, a blind young man, a little boy who wanted to learn his colors, and that book sat for about 10 or 15 years, and I was just afraid. I was just afraid to put it out there. And I got an illustrator. I was lucky enough to marry into a family of artists, and one of my nieces illustrated the book for me. And then when she was involved, I was like, okay, I got to get this done. I've got another person involved here, and I can't let this sit. So and just like fate, I ran into Valerie on Facebook, and I'm telling you, I was thinking I need to get this published, and her name popped up. And I was like, this is it. So, and Valerie was like, well, what are you waiting for? What is the problem? And I just told her, I'm scared. I'm scared. And she was like, well, this book is done. Just come on with it. So this is my book, Spin in the Butterfly.
And that was her first children's book.
This is my first.
And then she wrote this ridiculously long fiction book, which I shared at the last one showcase. But that's almost 400 pages. Like I said, turn it to the side, dear. Turn it to the side. No, the other side.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I only say that because I have to keep reading it every time we add more or edit it. That's all I'm saying. But you have a kindred spirit in your girl Sissy, because I'm sure she can write that much too.
Okay.
So y'all might need to hook up,
I was about to say that. I was like, Val, you ended my book. I didn't end.
Right. We need to wrap this up. Yes. Part 2. The dumpster league, going forth from there, But ladies, I just want to thank you all. You have blessed my life, because it allowed me to walk in my purpose and gift. And so you all are proof that I at least am going in the right direction, because otherwise no one would be doing this with me. So I just want to celebrate and thank you all for allowing me into your lives, into your journeys, and even being a part of my journey. So as we move forward as the Book Coach Accelerator, as in my Power to Excel business, that, I speak power to all of you, because you all are excelling in so many ways. You're doing great work. And so I honor and celebrate you all. And of course, there's going to have to be more author showcases because the books keep coming. So I just want to celebrate you all and thank you again for joining me tonight. And keep doing what you're doing. It's like more books to come. And again, post your links. We're going to make sure that everyone has copies or able to get in touch with you and to find out what else is going on with you. So thank you. ladies, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, world, for all those watching the replay. Thank you again for joining us. We're so happy to have you, and we'll see you next time.
Right.
See ya.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Wow.
Right.